Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 198 of the I Suck at Jiu Jitsu show. So pretty much, next time I talk to you guys is going to be episode 200. Like, I guess next time I do a solo episode is going to be episode 200. And as of right now, as of recording this, I have no plan. So that's stressful. But episode 197 was pretty good with Jake Watson. I hope you guys checked that one out. The return of the open guard cast. Are you kidding me? Man, don't listen to that one. We talk about drama and stuff on that one. That one's questionable. Jake asks my opinion on too many things. Don't listen to me on the open guard cast, but they are back. So listen to all the other interviews, all the new interviews they'll be doing. But also listen to Jake Watson's episode with Josh McKinney. It's always fun to get to talk to somebody that you just have a lot in common with, somebody that you came up fighting against, and we have a lot of fun with that conversation. So if you guys haven't checked out that interview, you absolutely should. But today, I know why you're listening. You're listening because you're like, Josh, you've been teasing for like a year now that you were going to release an episode with a designated winner breakthrough. And I am. I thought it was going to be last week, but I went too long. And by the time I got it out, I was like, dude, if somebody's going to listen for an hour and 40 minutes and then I finally hit them with the breakthrough at the end, they are going to be furious. They are going to fight. They are going to be like, wait, let me see if I have it on my board. They are going to be like, Josh McKinney, you are oh, darn it, I don't have it. I thought I had a good, guess I got rid of it. I suck. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Here it is. All right, so let's say this. So, like, let's pretend that I didn't mess that up, and I went, like, you guys listened to that whole episode, and then you'd be really mad, and then you would be like, Josh McKinney, you're a stupid and I'm gonna kick you in, and you son of right? You would do something like that, and isn't that cool too? You know, I can now, since I never cuss on the show, I can just cuss and just press that button, and it's okay. You know, my mom's not going to be upset, and so it's no big deal. This episode's starting out about as good as the last one went. Let's get into today's episode, where we're going to discuss how you can create your own designated winner drills, your own designated winner games in one word. I use a lot of other words after that, but one word that you'll have to remember. And we also we do something kind of fun, and we answer what designated winner is for a white belt, what if you should be implementing it right now, how you should be focusing, or if you're a purple belt, how you should be implementing it, what you should be focused on, or even if you are a black belt wanting to implement it in your school, or a coach wanting to implement it in your school, how you can go about that too. And so we do give a lot of different depth on designated winner and how to look at it. But I do recommend listening to last week's episode. This is a two-parter, and I reference certain parts of the beginning of the episode as if I didn't plan on it being a two-parter, because I didn't, because I suck. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and we'll get into today's episode. We'll just let it all work itself out. I'll stop explaining to you. Let's get into the episode. All right, guys. So now we will look at kind of four. Those first four training methods were, what I look at is the four original ones, the four that were around when I came up. And we have a few other ones that we're going to talk about that I think are really helpful, and they are different than those main four. The first one we'll talk about, and this is one I've talked about a lot, and I've always explained this to people, is this is the simplest way to progress at jiu-jitsu, because you don't have to actually do defined positional sparring, and you don't have to actually do defined deadpan drilling or repetitive drilling. If you were at a place that always just sets the timer and you just roll, how do you get better in that situation unless you're just going, well, I'm not going to roll, I'm going to do deadpan drilling, I'm going to do all these other training methods. And so this is one of two that you can do during live rounds. And so that is the end goal method. And how the end goal method works, I explained it in the first episode like this. Shoot, I didn't look up what it was called. There is this phenomenon. We all have experienced it at some point. It is when you decide you are going to buy a blue Mustang, and then as you drive around, you start seeing blue Mustangs everywhere. And you're like, whoa, I didn't realize this was such a popular car. I didn't realize everybody has a blue Mustang. And the truth is, those Mustangs have always been there. You just never noticed them. You have never intentionally looked for those Mustangs. And just by deciding you're going to buy one, you start to look for those Mustangs and you start to find them everywhere. The end goal method is that, but for jiu-jitsu. You look at a specific end goal position, a dominant position. There really aren't many. If you really think about it, if you really define them, there's like side control, mount, and the back. There's all kinds of versions of those positions, but those are your three main dominant positions. And so sometimes you will end goal from the back, but then you should have a place you're trying to finish from once you're there, right? Maybe it's rear naked choke or something like that. So maybe it always is submission, but I think it is good to look at it as an end goal position sometimes too. Maybe you're looking at, I'm trying to get good at closed guard armbar, and I want to learn how to actually hit these. And so you end goal method it. And what you do is you only go for that. You don't tell people. You don't say, hey, I'm doing the end goal method just so you know I'm going to try arm bars on your right arm the whole day. It doesn't work like that. That's not going to help you. Because people are then just going to go, okay, well, if I just keep my right arm tight, even if I'm giving up triangles, he's not trying to triangle my left side. He's trying to armbar my right side. And so I can just be an annoying training partner. So if you're doing this in your live training, you probably don't want to mention it, but you're looking for your end goal position, your triangle, armbar, back take, rear naked choke, anything that helps you finish people. And then you go for it for 6 weeks to 6 months. And that is the end goal method. You spend your time looking for it. And what happens, and it's really simple, and I can explain the process to you, and then you can go try this for the next 6 weeks to 6 months, and you will have certain light bulb days where you go, I got to the next step. And so the first step when you're doing the end goal method is you start missing the move. That is generally the first step, because usually we're not doing an end goal method on something we're already good at. Usually we're trying to get good at something. And so I never hit Kimuras, and I'm looking for Kimuras, and I'm going for Kimuras. Oh, crap, that's an Americana grip, isn't it? I'm an idiot. I'm in bottom side control. I lose. We've all been there. And then usually you're like, I suck at Kimuras. I'm not going to go for them anymore. Wrong. That's the worst thing to do. You started seeing them. That's the first step to getting good at it. You have to see it first and miss it. You have to go, wait a second, there was a Kimura 3 seconds ago. Shoot. Then you move on. You go for your next Kimura. Your next Kimura, sometimes you'll go, oh man, I went for it at the right time. I still missed it. He was still just better than me at the position, but I went for it. Then what starts to happen is you start to hit it. With a lot of focus and a lot of effort, you start to hit Kimuras. And then you do that long enough, and one day you start to hit Kimuras without thinking about it. You wake up in the morning and your wife is in a Kimura, and you're like, shoot, babe, end goal method. Sorry, my bad. That's the end goal method. That's how it works. It works like a charm. Out of all the things that I've ever given out on the show, I think I've gotten more response about end goal methods still. Episodes 1 and 92, I dig in deeper. I'll link those in the description. But I dig in deeper to the end goal method if you guys want to hear about that. We just have 3 more training methods to discuss. Gosh, we've been going for a long time. I haven't even gotten to the big designated winner breakthrough. This is a long episode. So exploration drilling. So this was really first exposed to me by John Thomas. He and I used to explain it like this. Yeah, we'll go in my garage and we'll drill. We'll drill for like 3 or 4 hours. And people were like, oh my gosh, these dudes are doing reps over and over again for 3 or 4 hours. I wouldn't call it that now. Now I would look back at it and go, no, we were doing exploration drilling. It really is kind of this idea of going, what if we slowed everything down almost to stopped? And then we discuss this really specific situation and how we can beat it. Maybe, how does this feel? How does this feel? Okay, let's increase the intensity. How does this feel again? How does this feel again? We can eventually, your exploration drilling probably ends in positional sparring. It probably ends in you going, okay, well, if I do this, if I, how would I explain this? Usually it goes from, let's go with a specific position. Maybe we're trying to get better at Toreando, and maybe we have all these ideas of where to run and where to grip, and we start to experiment with them. Then when it's time to live train, even if the answer at first, like we were like, oh, these grips are unbeatable. If we live train and it doesn't work, then maybe the grips are beatable, right? And then we can go back to, okay, let's slow it down again. Let's get back to maybe this grip, maybe this grip. Oh, maybe we grab this way. Maybe this just isn't the move for the situation. And so that is how exploration drilling works. This is, I think it's becoming less and less of a necessity because there's just so much great jiu-jitsu knowledge out there, but it still is going to be necessary, especially for, getting into some of the deep, intricate positions and beating some of the deep, intricate positions that you want to beat, that you're struggling to beat. Now let's look at this idea of live drilling. I said end goal method was one of the two that you could do while live training. Let's look at the other one, and that is this idea of live drilling. So there was this, I think they talk about it in Choke, but I've heard it a bunch of other times too. But it was this Rickson Gracie idea, this thing that he would do. And there would be like all black belts at the gym. And he would go in and he would armbar all the black belts like 5 or 6 times each on their right arm. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. How did he do that? He's so good. Well, to me, yes, that is a proof of how good he is. But sometimes, often for a lot of people, especially people that want to compete and are really putting in the extra effort in jiu-jitsu and then have some physical attributes too. But often there are guys, and there's one at each gym probably, that you're like a big fish in a small pond. And meaning like I'm just better than most of my training partners, or if not all my training partners. Some guys struggle, like I even beat my coach now. I am, whatever, even maybe the physicality that I can bring or whatever, I don't have guys that get to test me anymore. Live drilling is one of the best training methods for you. And you don't have to be super high level, but it does help. And so my argument with that Rickson Gracie story is, what if it wasn't just a testament to how good he was? What if he figured out a really smart way to train? And what if he figured out a really smart way to train if you're the best guy in the room in basically every room you go to? You live drill, right? With deadpan drilling, we are hitting reps of a specific move. With live drilling, and you kind of should, I think, be subtle about this, because I don't want the guy to know that I'm only going knee cut, because like we said, it's very easy for guys to then go, well, only stop the knee cut. I don't have to stop anything else. He's only going knee cut. And yes, I can force it and make it work and try it that way. But to me, I do like it to feel like a real live round. I want if I'm hitting knee cuts, I'm having to let this guy escape side control. I want it to feel realistic. I don't want it to feel like, okay, he's obviously just messing with me. That's not a training method anymore. I'm just beating somebody up, right? Which there is a place for. You should be beating people up. But I think if you're looking at it as a training method and you're trying to live drill, meaning get as many reps as you can of a move or an idea against real resistance, 100% resistance. Can you make it work? Can you make it happen a bunch? Can you get a bunch of reps? And this was I think end goal method, when you get good at it, it turns into live drilling a lot of times. You're hitting this move on so many different people because you've been so focused on it. But then what I would do with a lot of guys that we would mess with end goal method, then I would actually put a number of reps that they needed to hit in live training. And so I remember, I've talked about this before on the podcast. I remember I did it with Logan Wayne once with the guillotine. And he was like, I really want to get good at guillotine. We did end goal method for a while. And then it was like, I'm feeling all right on it. I was like, okay, we'll hit 500 live rounds, reps of it. And he's like, that's a lot. And I'm like, yeah, you have unlimited time. Just get good at it. And by rep 300, he was hitting 15, 20 guillotines a night, right? He was live drilling guillotines against real resisting opponents because he just got so many reps doing it, right? That is what live drilling is. Now, let's talk about 1 hour into the episode. Let's talk about where the reason you guys clicked on this episode, the real training method, designated winner. So all designated winner is, now that we've explained all 7 of the first training methods, we'll get into the 8th one. And the 8th one is designated winner. And again, this is how I view jiu-jitsu. People have different names and different opinions and different methods that they use. These are what I think matter. Designated winner, the 8th wonder of the world, is simply a positional spar with a winner that we decide upon. And the other person gives a specific amount of resistance or a specific type of resistance. So I'll give you an example. Then we'll get to how to create your own designated winner games. If we are still trying to get good at knee cut, maybe positional sparring, I'm not hitting it in positional sparring yet. Maybe I need to ease up. I've hit my drilling, my deadpan drilling, but it's just not working still. I'm not hitting these positions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some rounds of designated winner. We're going to do 3 minutes on the clock. I am the designated winner every time. No matter what, I win. This is not a round. This is a training method. I am going to hit my knee cut, but maybe not just my knee cut, because sometimes, as we talked about before, the knee cut is not there. Sometimes the best move is not to knee cut. It is to do something else. Sometimes the best move is to back out. Designated winner allows me to do that because I'm not being too structured on what I'm hitting. I am positional sparring. I win every time with let's start with 20% resistance. A lot of times I define what 20% resistance is. That's more helpful, and it keeps it from just turning into a live roll. 20% resistance is only frames. Only frames. No underhooks, no grips, only frames. That's all you're doing to me. Then maybe at 40%, we add in underhooks and we add in grips. Still though, if you land me in a triangle, maybe I make a bad mistake and I land in a triangle from this position, I am the designated winner. You just wait. Wait for me to get out of the position. Allow me to work. If I need a little help, tell me. Hey, turn that way. We can have jiu-jitsu conversations while doing designated winner. With designated winner that way, when we're thinking about like getting these reps, then I'm able to be a little more creative, and I'm able to connect it with the jiu-jitsu I already know. I'm able to say, okay, well, I'm good at this. When the knee cut's not there, I can just go to my smash pass, or I can go to my over-under, I can go to my whatever. And you're able to make these connections, and that actually allows you to put it into your game. It actually allows you to do it really, really quickly too. And what's interesting about designated winner, since you are not tensing up in the same way that you would with positional sparring, one, you can just do way more of it. It is very mentally engaging, especially with the right music and the right training partner. It is very mentally engaging. But this is my favorite part, is you actually will feel yourself getting better. You will actually go, man, I never hit these passes. But then you start to go with a 20% resisting opponent, and it takes you 10 seconds to hit the pass. Then it takes you 5. Then it takes you 2. Then you're hitting it effortlessly, and you're getting a bunch of reps doing it. And then you go into positional spar, and a lot of times you can hit it like that quickly. With one night of designated winner, with 30 minutes of designated winner for a specific idea or position. So now we'll get into, like I said, I have some new designated winner breakthroughs to discuss with you. So I was listening to a podcast called 1-800-BJJ-HELP. It is with Jake Luigi from Less Impressed, More Involved, and his friend Josh. I don't know Josh's last name, but strong first name. And Josh is a white belt. Jake, I think, is a purple belt. And the idea of the show, and so I want to make sure to recommend this show because people always will say, man, I wish you would interview a white belt. I would love to hear kind of that perspective or like conversate with white belts. And I don't do that because I hate white belts and I don't think they're people and I don't want to talk to any of them. But This show does that. Jake's a purple belt, so he still thinks that white belts are people. And so this show kind of bridges that gap. So if that's something that's interesting to you, highly recommend the show. But they got to train together for the first time. Most of the episodes are Josh asking Jake questions, and they're kind of discussing what's going on in Josh's training because he's very new to training. And they got to train together, and Josh got to experience designated winner because Jake he's a designated winner for life guy, designated winner faithful guy. And I got to hear their conversation after that, and it was very interesting to me. And like I said, it gave me a big breakthrough. First of all, the white belt had a really great analogy. I'm going to tell you guys that. He was a white belt for sure. Great analogy, 10 out of 10. He's talking about designated winner. He experienced it for the first time, and he says something along the lines of, in weight training, we always talk about time under tension. Yes, okay, you can move the weight for 100 reps, but if you actually stay under the tension of the weight and stop using momentum and stop using bracing and, fully locking out things to hold the weight, then it's just different. Your time under tension is totally different, and your benefit is different, right? It's more efficient that way. And he gave that example for designated winner. It felt like I had more time under tension doing the reps. And I thought that was a really great analogy. And I do agree that's exactly how it feels. But then they talked about a specific game. And it wasn't one that I have discussed on the show. It was one I've done, but I've not discussed it on the show. And Jake said, we did this thing from guard, where I think it was from guard. It might have been from standing. But the job of the designated winner was to get the other person to their butt or to their hands. Okay. And I didn't need, like I said, done this game before, but he explained it. And then he said something really quick about, Danaher says this is important for, it's like the first part of a sweep or something like that, or first part of a takedown. And it clicked. I was like, oh, it's a precursor. Why have I not thought of this? When I talk about the upper thigh game for guard retention, so how the game works is you want to get better at guard retention. A huge precursor of passing the guard is touching of the upper thighs. Why? Because once you start to learn guard and learn how to play it, you will start to pull your knees to your chest often. Keep your elbows behind your knees often. Right? And coaches always have different ways of explaining it. Keeping your elbow knee space free, right? Keeping people out of your hips, out of your armpits, all these different ways to explain it. But the precursor is contact on your quad. Because if whether with my shin for a knee cut pass, whether with my hands for any other type of upper body pass, I am trying to pry your quad from your abs. That is how I'm going to pass your guard. That's how I'm going to finish the guard pass. Of course, there's all these other things we're needing to do to pass the guard, but that is a very clear precursor. You will not see guard passes where guys don't at some point have to control the upper thigh to open the guy up, the bottom person up. And it's a precursor. And that's one of the best games for a designated winner, right? So what other precursors are there? That is the question to creating your own designated winner games. What's up, guys? Josh McKinney here. I just want to tell you about something really exciting that we have going on at simplifyingjujitsu.com. So I showed you guys some quick little clips of the studio and just some little background video kind of angles and stuff for you guys. But besides cleanup, the studio is done. All I have to do is kind of get things cleaned up, get a few wires organized, and we are ready to go. We're going to be putting out more content at Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu. But what we wanted to make sure of is we had so many good courses that we've released in the old studio and during the old, and even in the old gyms. But we've released, and during that time, we've had new listeners, and there are a lot of people that haven't even heard about STDs for BJJ, simplifying takedowns for BJJ with Kyle Watson, who has an 80+% takedown rate in competition, which is ungodly. No one has that. and he can make takedowns simpler for you. And guess what? That course, along with every other course at simplifyingjujitsu.com, is 50% off, okay? And that is only for the entire month of May, and May is almost over. We're more than halfway at this point. Everything that, like, all those things I told my wife that I would have done by May, I'm planning on, like, man, how do I get these done before June ends? We're getting to that point in the month. And so be sure to use promo code NEWSTUDIO to get 50% off the entire store at simplifyingjujitsu.com. And yeah, there's some really great stuff, including my dad and I's most recent instructional, How to Learn Jiu-Jitsu. This has been like, this was kind of a culmination of training methods. So this episode, if you're interested in this episode, if you like this episode so far, that instructional is going to give you some actual video versions of what these training methods actually look like. And so, yeah, you guys will absolutely love that. But again, only available for the rest of the month until June 1st. So June 1st, this is done, and then you'll never get a deal at simplifyingjujitsu.com. That's probably not true. And you can do that with promo code NEWSTUDIO. You get half off of anything. Get over to the store, and we'll get back to learning about jiu-jitsu training method. So what other precursors are there? That is the question to creating your own designated winner games. Meaning, and I'll give you some other examples, and then we'll see if I can come up with any random games on the spot. So meaning, let's say we are going to get better at, stand-up. And I would argue a huge part of getting good at finishing takedowns is getting a hug on the hips. You don't have to actually finish the takedown. Once you learn, of course, we can drill from hug on the hips and then say, like, okay, the positional spar is the same what Jake said. The precursor is butt or to your hands. I'll start with your hips, and I'm going to either knock you to your butt or your hands. Or we can say, we're going to start disconnected. My job is to get to your hips. I can pick up a single leg and use it to get to your hips. I can go collar tie to get an underhook and then use that to get to your hips. But the precursor for these takedowns that we're trying to get, for the most powerful body locking takedowns that we are working, is me hugging your hips. And so how we would play the game, normal designated winner. Let's start with our grip fight. We start with our hand. You're giving me 20%. Maybe you're just framing for right now. Maybe you're not even gripping yet. And I'm looking to work my underhooks. I'm looking to work my single leg. I'm looking to break your posture. I'm looking to create angles. But I'm trying to get to your hips because that's my precursor. Then we could take it another step. We say, okay, well, we're getting really good at getting to the hips. Let's get good at takedowns. Well, what's the precursor to the takedown? Getting the person to their hands or their butt, right? From there, then you have to look at flattening the person, right? That would be your next precursor. No matter if you're going to mount, side control, whether you're passing the guard, the next thing is going to be probably putting the person flat on their back. And so you have 3 designated winner games from a specific one technique, if you look at it that way, a body lock takedown. But there are a million entries, right? It's super powerful. Once you're there, you're there. You can finish this takedown. And so now, and this is kind of something I have talked about on the show before, and I guess I sense I couldn't verbalize that, how important it is to understand the precursors of accomplishing the task you're trying to accomplish, right? So maybe we're playing from guard and I'm trying to get good at triangles, and the precursor is what? One arm in, one arm out. I'm just trying to create one arm in, one arm out. Then maybe from there, we also do designated winner rounds, or we do positional spars starting from one arm in, one arm out. And we're able to incrementally look at, okay, what's the next precursor to get me to where I want to be? Which is eventually going to be the controlled and the finish, right? When we can look at our designated winner this way, it changes everything. You can then just go, wow, I'm already kind of good at this. I'm good at winning. I don't know. What's a simple thing to win? I am good at, what are some other precursors we could think of? Let's say, man, I really do need a live studio audience so I can actually ask for positional suggestions, because I only ever think about knee cuts, man. Like that's the only position I even know. Let's say side control. Let's say we're starting from side control, and we are trying to, I've given this example before, but this is also a precursor. And we are trying to get good at pin escapes, because it's going to be the same if you were side control or mount. My idea, my goal, my precursor is going to be the same. And you could drill this on either side. So the precursor of a side control escape or a mount escape in my eyes is getting on your side. Okay. It's very, very hard. If you are on all four of your main joints, it's hard for frames to work. It's hard to create any type of angle to frame somebody away. It's hard to connect your elbow knees together. Very hard to do anything if you're flat. So what you're trying to do usually is get on your side. All of our side control escapes, yeah, we have a million different ones, but where they all will kind of tie together. And this is including, if you guys know what the running man is, I turn on my side just to the other side, right? Just not facing my opponent. Everyone's probably thinking like, okay, yeah, turn on your side, face your opponent. Sometimes we turn on our side and give up our back a little bit, but protect our control space and learn how to escape that way. I don't think that they're going to post it, but I have a great I'm concussed match. I'm concussed like the whole 10-minute match. And at IBJJF, and at one point I'm up on points and I have to play running man. And you can see this idea in action from a person whose brain is not functioning properly, and it still works really well. But anyway, the precursor is to get on your side. So you can say, okay, top guy, keep me from getting on my side. Keep me flat. You know, and you can start with an underhook. You can start with behind the head control. These are the reasons that we hold those, is because it keeps people from getting on their side easily. If you don't hold an underhook on me, I'm getting on my side. But you hold under that big shoulder joint, it's very hard for me to turn that way. Then you pin with your weight on top of me, it's very hard for me to turn the other way, and you can make me work, right? And so again, we incrementally work up 20%, 40%, 60%. And then we're starting to get good. Eventually, we're positional sparring. I always say after 40% of a designated winner, you might as well just be positional sparring, because most people, 60% is 100%. That's why my main designated winner percentages I use are 20 and 40. Sometimes I'll be like, guys, use as close to 0% on this as you can. Be as deadpan as you can, but give some movement or some resistance. But anyway, let's see where I'm at in my... yes. Okay. So then you'll go with kind of just finishing this with, all right, so these are precursors are how you create games. But what about me? What should I even try to create? How can I even experiment with designated winner? And so I want to give an answer for 3 people. I want to give the answer for the newer white belt that has very little control of their training. I want to give the answer to the seasoned purple belt who's been around long enough that they probably do get some freedom in their training, and they probably do get to have some control of their training. And then I want to go to the school owner. What if you wanted to implement this in your school? And I know we're getting deep in this episode. A 90-minute solo episode really should be, oh my gosh, it just hit me. This really should be 2 parts. You guys will see it as 2 parts, but this idea just came to me right now. Yeah, we'll do it in 2 parts. Shoot, I should have, that commercial break really is the end of the first episode. Darn. This is too much. This is off the rail. Anyway, let's get into how to create your own. Let's say you're a white belt, you're brand new, or you're newer, and you want to use this new training method. 1, you don't have to. 1, you haven't experienced the other training methods yet. Work in goal method. That's super easy to just throw in. That's, like I said, it's the simplest method to progress in. Work positional sparring. Work repetitive drills. You have other tools other than designated winner. I think that the games, though, are fun. And if you wanted something to do, I'm just going to give you, normally I'm usually like so generic with the podcast. If you're this, so tree huggery, generic, dude. Such a hippie freaking podcast. But anyway, it just disgusts me. But anyway, I'll be specific on this one. If you are new, don't worry about it right now. Don't worry about like having to come up with your own games. Do this. play that upper thigh game that I told you guys about. That is going to help you with guard pass, or with not getting your guard passed, which is going to, if you just have good guard retention, your ability to train jiu-jitsu is going to be so different, because you're not going to have to go, I need to spend my next 2 years in bottom side control to learn how to get out of it and learn how to defend it. Yes, I do think bottom side control is probably one of the best positions to start with and learn how to do. But I do think guard retention, when I look at guys that naturally, or where maybe they were just at the right spot in the curriculum, that get good at guard retention first, they tend to be the ones that get kind of the best, the fastest to me. I wouldn't always say that, but they seem to get good really quickly, or quicker than other people that don't master guard retention. Why? Because if you don't know how to retain your guard, you don't get a choice on whether or not you play guard. You're a lot of times just playing bottom side control. And so play that upper thigh game first if you are new, and then maybe you play it for 6 months. What then? Play the get on your side game. That side control, smash, mount, smash side control, and then make it harder and harder for you. Increase the resistance, increase the positional control. Okay, 20%, 40%. Okay, well, now get your underhook deeper. Yeah, let's just start there and give me 20% and give me 40%. We'll go mount. All right, now mount with an underhook. Now mount with double underhooks. And you learn it that way. And the goal is always going to be elbows tight on your side. Elbows tight, get on your side. And that's always going to be your fight to start getting you out of side control. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with just little incremental resistance. This is going to be the hardest part for you. If you can master actually like cooperating with a real training partner, just cooperating with a real training partner, what's going to happen is you are going to get better faster. You're going to go, wow, I can separate training live or performance training from skill development. That is a skill that people a lot of times never get. But even people that do, they don't get it to like purple belt. It's so hard to get out of your mind that you want to just bring the rain at every single class. It is so hard. You always want to prove yourself. You always want to, we're crazy. People that do jiu-jitsu are insane. Jiu-jitsu doesn't make sense to do. Really, you pay to fight each other every single day and learn how to fight each other, and then you pay to travel and compete, and then you pay to learn from this random Brazilian guy that you've never met before, but he has a lot of followers on Instagram, so he must be relevant. And you pay $100 for an hour of his time, and then jiu-jitsu doesn't make sense. Everything's so expensive, it's bizarre. We should not be doing it. But if you're crazy enough to do it, you want to get good. Learn to focus on what gets you good. Don't just focus on the here and now, how did I perform today? Focus on skill development. Focus on the long term. Focus on the long game. Now let's look at a purple belt that's starting to get more control of your training. First, before you play the upper thigh game, unless you're going, oh, well, Josh, dude, this is a huge hole for me. I need guard retention. Play the upper thigh game. It'll work in a second. It'll work in a day. You will start to get better. You work it for 6 weeks, 6 months. Your guard retention will be insane. And yes, there are going to be certain things that you don't understand about it unless you were taught how to play the game, how to keep your upper thighs free. But most of it is you're going to figure out pretty early. But just keep people from touching your upper thighs, especially for any period of time. More than a second is going to be a death sentence, right? If that is your problem, then yeah, if you're a purple belt, you can jump in that. But if not, I would say see if you can use it to get better at something you're already good at. Because something you're already good at as a purple belt, you are going to know what the precursors are. You're going to have a good understanding of it, or at least a understanding of it. And you're going to be able to go, okay, well, I am a really good Bravo choke guy. And you'll go, well, I really only, it's not hitting the choke. Once I feed the lapel, I can finish anybody with this Bravo choke. It's just getting from knee shield to the grip, right? Without the person touching my hip. Those two things I need to, that's the precursor for me hitting my hitting my Bravo choke. And so maybe we start from knee shield, or maybe we even just start from open guard and I work my passing into that Bravo grip, that Bravo feed, that precursor, okay? And then you get a bunch of reps doing it, and you will literally get really good, get even better at something you're already good at. You will get great at something, because a lot of times it is not that we don't know or we don't understand. It's just that we haven't gotten enough reps. We just haven't gotten enough times doing it. And my reason to prove that is if you kept doing that Bravo choke over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, there's going to be a point where jiu-jitsu becomes designated winner for you, because no one's good enough to resist you, and you are just live drilling that Bravo choke every time you're doing a round, if you so please. So why can't there be a time where we go, okay, well, repetition and understanding is what we need. What if I just focus on this Bravo choke for the next 6 months? And so instead of having to wait 10 years of, naturally and organically becoming great at this, I force it. And I get really, really good at this. I'm already pretty good at it. I already hit it on enough guys. But you'll start to notice, you'll start to connect your passes to that Bravo choke better. And you'll start to get that Bravo grip so many more times. And so that would be my challenge to a purple belt, is don't go with, okay, what am I weakest at? And you can do this if you have a glaring hole that you go, oh, designated winner could fix this. But then for the black belt, the coach, implementing a new training method in your school is so hard to do. It really is. Because people have learned a specific way. And if you've done a good job selling them on this is the way that you should be training jiu-jitsu, then any change should kind of shake them up a little bit and them go, hey, are you sure, coach? You used to say it this way, or you used to think about this. And yeah, I just think that as a coach, you will start to go, oh, wow, these guys don't want to listen because it's so new. It's so different, right? So it's important, if you are going to implement this, if you're going to start messing with it, that you first have clickbait. You first sell your students. This idea of, you hear it a lot in YouTube and just in all content creations, like, oh, if their title makes you want to click on it, it's clickbait and it's this evil thing. No, it doesn't. Not if they're actually doing what the title says. Not if they're actually teaching you what the title says. It can be exciting. It can be motivating. If I make an episode about training method and it's just called training method, it's going to get less listens than if I name the episode The Ultimate Guide to Training Jiu-Jitsu, or if I name the episode The Most Important Training Methods in Jiu-Jitsu. Whatever ChatGPT comes up with and tells me I should be naming this episode, right? And the reason is not because the content's any different with the name, right? It's still designated winner. It's still me telling you guys about training method. But here's the thing. If you don't want it, you're probably not going to even listen if it's not interesting enough to click on, right? Even if you do, and I didn't pre-sell you with some excitement, with some, hey, this is going to actually accomplish something today. This is actually going to improve stuff today. Guess what? It's not going to accomplish anything. It's not going to improve anything. But if you sell people, if you tell them, hey, this is a new training method that we're going to try, I think it's going to make us better. I think that it's going to help us all retain guard better. Let's mess with it tonight. Let's experiment with it. And you run it as a one. It's like, it's weird. Coaches are so afraid to show weakness. But sometimes it's kind of good. Sometimes it's good to show your students, hey, I have been doing this for 15 years and I still come in with an open mind. You've only been doing this for 3. You really should be coming in with an open mind, right? I'm still learning. When are you going to stop learning? It's motivating for your students to see that. It's motivating for your students to go, oh, wow, this guy he's really pulling out all the stops to get us good at jiu-jitsu. And so, with any of the training methods that we talked about, if you're going to implement one into your gym, make sure you sell it. Make sure you let guys know, hey, I am implementing this because I care about the progression of the jiu-jitsu here. I want everybody to get better. I hate those guys at that other gym that we all lose to in competition. I hope they die, but they're probably not going to. So instead, let's beat them. Let's get really good at jiu-jitsu and beat them. Maybe that's not the sales tactic. Maybe the sales tactic is, we are a self-defense gym and you guys couldn't freaking defend yourselves. You guys suck. Let's look at this training method and see if we can implement it, right? I don't know why you guys would talk to your students in a way that I talk to my students. You really shouldn't. It's unnecessary. But if you decided to, that's how I usually reference what you freaking idiots. What's wrong with everybody in here? You know what? Take a lap. I'm not even teaching tonight. I always do that. It's one of my favorite jokes. I always hit this joke when somebody asks a question. One, even if it's just a good question, my gym's a pretty weird place. You can't do anything right or wrong. If you do anything right, if you get a promotion at job, everyone's going to be like, oh, big man with a job. Look at you. Aren't you just better than all of us? If you lose your job, everyone's going to be like, dude, you freaking loser. You bum. I can't believe you failed a drug test, I can believe that, but you shouldn't have. But anyway, you see that and it's a rough place. You're going to get yelled at. And it's the same for me when it comes to teaching a class. If somebody asks too good of a question, if it makes me have to ponder too much, I'm going to be like, hey, you know what? Why don't you just freaking teach class? Okay? I'm out of here. See you guys later. Right? But if you ask a dumb question, we're going to all roast you. We're going to, man, what a rough place to train. You guys shouldn't train here. Don't come to my gym. Where am I at? I think that's all that I have to talk about. We'll just go quick recap over the last 2 weeks because mid-episode this turned into a two-parter. But just recapping all the different training methods, just so we know we are on the same page since I did break up the explanations into 2 weeks. We have our live rolling, deadpan drilling, repeating drills, positional sparring, end goal method, exploration drilling, live drilling, and designated winner. So we have our 8 different training methods. And remember, all of these are tools. You do not have to think of them as, oh, this training method is the best one. You can think of it as it's the best one for me right now, for what I'm trying to accomplish, for who I am, for how I am physically. But maybe with an injury, maybe with a life change, maybe with a perspective change, this other training method is going to be good for me. And so if there's anything I think to note on this that I haven't said, it is don't write off these training methods. You're going to hear, I guarantee you, 10 years from now, people are going to be talking about how designated winner's dead. It used to be important, but people don't do it anymore. And it's going to be new people on new instructionals, and they're going to be doing the old, you need to choose a side and decide. But the truth is you don't. You need to figure out what works best for you. If you're a coach, what works best for your guys? What works best for you and your guys? But that's where I will leave you guys in this episode, in this 2-part episode. Yeah, let's take it over to Josh for the outro. And that is the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed over the last 2 weeks going over the 8 main training methods that I use, the 8 main training methods that I believe that you need. And of course, I think that some of them you could do without, and you could probably just hack it and use just a few, but it's going to be different for each person. And you got to find what you enjoy. You got to find what works for you. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I don't really have a good outro for you guys. I have, in all honesty, I've been recording all day to kind of batch episodes, and I'm pretty tired of it at this point, to be honest. I don't even know why anyone would listen to the show at this point. But after I get a good nap and, teach class, get a little training, and I'll probably feel differently. I'll probably feel better. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope it was helpful. I hope you guys, this at least sparks some curiosity for you, and it makes you experiment with your training. And you don't just look at training as it has to be what it's always been. And it can be something new, and there are other ways to get better and other perspectives that can help you. I hope that this episode could help get that ball rolling. And most importantly, I hope that today's episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys.